YouTube. We're about to. I know we just talked about 4 decks. Talk about 4 more decks and side deck choices, and basically what I think is going to happen at the YC. I mean, at the World Championship Qualifier Nationals. We got my man Matt, my man Ralph, right here. He's recording.
Hello.
And this is part of the team push right now, and he's going to be doing some questions.
Alright guys, we just talked about Chain Burn, Countdown, GK, and Dark World in the last video. I got another 4 decks for you as we make our way to the top. First one we're going to talk about is been reprinted a lot recently. We're going to talk about Samurais. We have the structure deck coming out this coming Tuesday. We have Xian getting reprinted as well as the new XYZ. Do we expect to see any increase in play, and what cards are still good against it?
I mean, I think Samurai is, just because the fact that they got re-released isn't going to really up the fact that people are going to run it. You know, it was even the alternate was only a $12, $15 card, and the fact that it gets released in a side deck and making it a $6 or $7 card isn't, you know, that $8 isn't going to make you run it at nationals, especially when the card's restricted to 1. But you expect to see a little bit of it there. It's not a bad deck. It's more, you know, it's a lot of the format. You win the die roll and the deck's great. But good cards against it, and I actually takes me back about a year ago. You know, I sided Gozen and Dinah, and I beat it 8 times back at Texas. And the deck hasn't really evolved too much, except for the fact that asceticism makes its turn 1 play a little better. But Dinah and Gozen still hurt it. Max C's good card against it. I think Dinah and Gozen are a little better. And you know, you still have Snowman Eater if you're already siding it against other matchups, and then you have Raiko as well, which just kills the what's his name? Xian. But I wouldn't see too much of it, but a couple are going to squeak into the top, I'm sure of it. And it's not a bad deck if played correctly, but it's more of a deck that I think it's more reliant than a lot of other decks on winning the die roll. And going second in that deck is a little harder than the other matchups. Even though MST is at 3, I still think it's harder to play the deck.
Understandable. And back in Texas, if you guys remember, it was Gateway at 3, Xian at 3 when the deck first came out. So those are some good side deck choices to learn from. Next one I got a little bit new, a little bit old. We got Gadget Offering for you. With Shockmaster coming out, I've heard a lot of people saying they want to try and run it, but is there enough testing time, and is it going to get there?
I mean, there's definitely enough testing time. I mean, Gadgets and Machina has been tested and topped multiple times. It's 1, you know, OICS or 2, or I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I know it's at least 1-1. I don't think that people going to nationals are really gonna. I mean, I think some of the earlier round people who haven't run any experience will run it, but I don't think it's gonna do too well because of the fact that if you're basing a deck on a trap card, that it's a combo that you can't even establish turn 1, and MST. No, I'm saying it's a 2. Yeah.
Yeah, Offerings at 2 as well.
Yeah, it's a 2, not a 3, but it's a combo you can't establish at turn 1, and you know, it's the whole deck is disrupted by an MST, you know, or sided dust if you guys end up siding that, and the fact that if you don't get that ultimate offer, a lot of times in gadget decks you have to run 9 gauge in that deck. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to, but that's the best way. I mean, you pretty much do if you're running the offering build. You get a handful of clumped gadgets, and if they MST your offering, you lose. And I don't think you guys should take the choice on that. I think it's more of like a 6-4, 7-3 deck in a 10-round tournament. You know, an X3 or an X4 deck. I don't think it's more of an X2 deck because late rounds you're going to play against people who know how to save their cards and their resources correctly. But if you're going to side against it, I mean, I guess you have Cyber Dragon and System Down. System Down's too targeted for a deck not played that much, and Cyber Dragon, I don't really see you really making room for it. Not so much because of the fact that it isn't good against like wind up, you know, like Zen mains and heroes, you know, but because of the fact that fitting the extra Chimera tech in your extra deck just for a deck that probably won't be there in later rounds if you expect the top. I'd rather have that 15th slot in my extra deck for something else.
All right, understandable. The next deck we're going to talk about got there in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. We saw it get there in Long Beach. It's going to be Heroes, but now they're a little bit more anti-meta than just the, you know, the Avion, the Burstinatrix. But we've seen a couple different builds. We've seen the Bubble Beat build, we've seen the Skill Drain variant, we've seen even Hanzo Heroes. If you want to go ahead and explain what that one is.
I mean, I think Heroes going to be there. I'll say right now that the best cards to side against them. I mean, Deep Prison's really good. Soul Taker, if it's already in your side against Dragons, it's going to be good because it stops shining. You know, you could side, I guess, make the argument to side macro. I mean, I don't think you really need it. Decree, because they're very trap heavy and very low on monster count. You know, you could side those cards, but probably Soul Taker and Deep Prison is going to be your best option because Deep Prison's good against Dragons, so is Soul Taker. The best variant, I don't think the skill drain variant's very good. It's a very skill intensive deck. I think there are going to be a couple this weekend at the top. I think the best variant, I didn't think so before. My teammate right here off the road, he actually played the Hanzo variant, and we worked on it. And the Hanzo hero variant, actually, it's pretty consistent. The Hanzo engine is really good. It adds a lot to heroes, and the fact that you can get into it, grow it anyways, it just splashes very well into the deck. And I think it's the best variant of the deck. But I still don't think that it can really. I don't think it can really deal with a lot of the meta right now. So I don't expect to see too many of it topping, but definitely be prepared to side against it, but not specifically for it. More side cards, like I said, like deep cards that are, like you can side multiple cards in.
All right, the last deck we're going to talk about in this video before we get to the top 4 decks of the format, essentially. We're going to talk about a deck that came out in Galactic Overlord, the Heretic deck. Now, that deck is winning over in Japan, but a lot of people feel the meta over there is a bit slower without all the TCG exclusives that we have, such as Tour Guide and Dolka. So, not as many Rabbit decks, and Zectors are still kind of winning over there. But what do you think about the Heretic deck? I mean, we had the rank 6 build and the rank 8 build.
I think Heretics are a good deck. I mean, I think if played correctly, they're good. There's. I think the biggest advantage that Heretics actually has right now is the fact that a lot of people, out there just haven't played against them enough to the point where they haven't played just against them to the point where they know exactly how to beat them. You don't know what everything's going to be in their build because a lot of Heretic decks vary, between 5 and 10 cards. And that can be said about a lot of decks. One of the only cards I don't know. We talked about Phoenix Chain worked on them, but then the fact that they can just exceed right over top of the monster you're chaining, I don't like it. Master Shirt's good against that deck. What else? Light Prism Mirror. Yeah, that's a good card against the deck because they're pretty much all light. And so those are good options. But Light Prism Mirror, you're pretty much targeting that. Maybe Lightsworn if Lightsworn pops up, but I don't really see it doing a lot else. If you're running, if you're running GK or an all dark deck, you could side it just so they couldn't kill your Necrovile with the Lila. Dragons couldn't kill your Necrovile with Lila or Raikou, so it's a good option there. So it's not like it's completely dead, but you'll see a few of them. And Heretics is a good deck, but basically what I would say is Master Strict, maybe Light Prison Mirror.
Alright, YouTube, that's another 4 decks down, another 4 to go after this. Any closing statements on this video, Roy?
No, we're going to have the next 4. The next 4 we're going to actually do is Rabbit Dragon and Sectors and Windups. Not saying they're my favorite 4 choices, but pretty much they are the 4 decks that are dominating 70% of the meta, which is the majority. So we're going to do some cider choices and thoughts on that coming up after this, guys. Thanks.